Welcome back to Market Day Report. One last look at the grain and livestock trade before we go to Chicago. OliverSloup joining me in just a moment. I want to get you the ethanol numbers. Weekly ethanol report came out this morning, and again, 1 day delayed from the normal release on Wednesday. So we have the number this morning, and here it is. Looking at last week, this is production as of September the 2nd, ending September 2nd, 998,000 barrels per day. Interesting, we've been looking at that 1 million number for a couple of weeks in a row. Last week was over 1 million. The 4-week average still is over 1 million barrels per day. And ethanol stocks at 20.7 million barrels. So with that, let's go to Chicago and OliverSloup, iiTrader. And that number, always looking for fresh information. The trade still under a little bit of pressure in soy. Let's start with soybeans. After the big run we've seen, Oliver, holding on to most of that advance.
Yeah, the soybeans are kind of stuck right, kind of almost a stick in the mud at this key technical level. We failed to get out above the 20-day moving average in the early morning session. That came in at about 982 3/4. And just above that, there's another resistance level at 989.5. So I would suspect that we failed to break out above that going into next week's USDA report. Maybe seep back into a little bit of a trading range. As a 200-day moving average, it comes in at 968. So that's kind of the range we're looking at to round out the week. That 200-day moving average, 968, and the top side, 982 to 989-ish for that soybean contract.
There you go. All right, and let's take a look at where soybeans are right now. For those of you tuning in on the radio, we are back to the plus side. November had been lower the last two and a half hours or so. Now November up a penny and a quarter, matter of fact, 976 3/4. And Oliver talking about the 982 level at that 20-day average. 983 3/4 was our high today. Numbers, any numbers in corn? Corn been higher through the day, and any technical numbers you're watching there in December new crop?
Yeah, absolutely. December contract yesterday was a great session for the bulls. We managed to close out above the 20-day moving average. That came in about 332 1/4. That momentum is carried over into today's session. So the next line in the sand on the upside is 342 1/4. That's the 50-day moving average. I'm not sure that we're going to have enough momentum to really go test that to round out the week, but that's kind of the next line in the sand that we're looking at going into next week's USDA report. I think you'll probably see a little bit more squaring here, maybe throughout today's session and into tomorrow. We do know funds have a short position, so I think you're just seeing a little bit of covering going into that. Also helping the corn market, you mentioned the ethanol. Crude oil is up about 4%, so that's also helping support things here in today's price action. Yeah,
crude oil October up $1.89 here right now. Let's move over to wheat, if we might, and OliverSloup, iiTrader. Wheat just following along, but it is higher today.
It is higher. I have been trying to get my pom-poms out for the wheat market because I think that's where most of the potential is going to be here in the near term. Funds have a very large net short position, but we're really kind of struggling to get any momentum to the upside. Shorts are in no hurry to cover their positions, but at some point I think that will happen, and when that does, I think the market really takes off. But we need to get above some key technical levels, and there's really not a whole lot until 418. As you and I both know very well, and I'm sure your viewers are very well informed, the wheat market's been so depressed, it's just like a technical graveyard on the chart. So there's a lot of work to do, but I think at this point the value is to the upside with limited risk to the downside.
Again, so we are 3, 4, 5, 6 cents higher here when you look about Chicago, Minneapolis, Kansas City. We'll take a break, come back, and Oliver, check back in with you now and take a look at what's going on, giving everything back in the cattle and feeder cattle here. Your thoughts coming up. OliverSloup live in 1 minute. Welcome back to Market Day Report. 10 minutes to the top of the hour. That means it's time for your livestock update. Let's go to Chicago. One last look. And OliverSloup joining us, iiTrader. Oliver, boy, this time yesterday we were looking at a $2 advance in live cattle, $3 plus in feeder cattle. Today, all the arrows went from higher to lower, almost the same number.
Yeah, it is. It's not been a pretty sight, and it probably sound like a broken record because it hasn't really been a pretty sight over the past 2 years since we put into that top. You know, I was just talking to a client before I came on with you, and he's trying to figure out where the bottom in this market is going to be. And I'm trying to reiterate that, this is one of those markets where you do not want to try to pick bottoms. The only thing you get from picking bottoms is stinky fingers. If you want some exposure to the long side, I think you look at it in the way of options, buying call options with a little bit of time time. They might be a little pricey, but that's the only way to get some long exposure. And then I'd look at maybe adding futures on a breakout and a buying on strength, essentially. So for the live cattle contract October, I'd like to be a buyer on strength above the 105 level. Feeder cattle 132. I want to see price action above that before I step in with futures, because as of right now, the volatility is just too high to really sit tight on any futures position. You get stopped out in a heartbeat.
Very good. Let's go back to live cattle here. You mentioned that October you want to see 105 as an area where you'd be more comfortable as a seller.
As a buyer, I want to buy on strength. So I think that's going to be key resistance. I want to see a couple consecutive closes above that to verify that a potential bottom is in place. And then if we're able to manage, I don't know, 2 or 3 closes above 105, I think you put your stop right below that and, let it ride to the upside. And we're putting some calls on now. So I think there's a couple different ways to play it depending on one's risk appetite.
Interesting there. 105 would seem like it might be a little more of a resistance ceiling than breakout to moving higher from there. But that's why we have you on here. All right, feeder cattle. So we're down $1.50, $2 here in the live cattle. Feeder cattle down $2 to $2.50 on that October. And you mentioned October, what, 134? Did I hear? Is that right?
132. And going back to the live cattle, the 105 is very much resistance, and that's why I want to see it close above that. To see some follow through. Very good. All right, feeder cattle then, and your number there, 132 in the October. Yes, correct. All right, and we're down to 128 right now, 128.28, down over almost $2.50 here as we head to the top of the hour. Get your thoughts here in the lean hog complex before we let you go. Interesting in the face of what's going on in cattle and feeder cattle, hogs have just chugged along, not a big advance, but holding from the open 50, 60 points better. The lean hogs have been a very interesting trade this week. They're really shaking both parties out, the bulls and the bears, really over the past couple of weeks since we put in that near-term bottom. We've been trading in a very wide range, chasing out the week shorts and the week longs. 63 has been my number for a while. I want to see consecutive closes above 63. That's previous resistance, as well as the 50-day moving average. If we can get a couple closes above 63, I think you might see some short start to cover and some more upside potential. Very good. Oliver, thanks for your time now. We will check back with you. We'll kind of wrap things up tonight in our evening news. I'm looking forward to it. We are too. Thank you for your help right now. OliverSloup, iiTrader in Chicago. Here are the numbers one last time. I'll be checking the October futures. October live cattle down $1.45 and right near 101. They're 198, 100.98. Feeder cattle down even more. The October down 247 right now, 128.28. And our hog futures have been higher through the day. October up 57 right now. After a high just over $62, they are 61.45. And we did have the pork cutout. Big advances late morning in our wholesale pork trade. I want to show you these, Jenna. Up $5 plus in loins and $5 plus in the belly trade.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark.
You bet.